Have you ever felt like no matter how much you do, how good you try to be, people still treat you like you're invisible, like your voice doesn't carry weight, your presence doesn't command anything? You show up, give your best, try to be kind, helpful, even compromising, yet somehow you still get overlooked, interrupted, disrespected, and deep down, it eats you. It makes you question yourself, makes you ask, why do they respect other men and not me? Here's the truth they won't tell you. Respect isn't earned by being nice. It's built by being unshakable. Modern relationships, whether with women, family, or even friends, are exposing millions of men, not for what they do wrong, but for what they tolerate. Today, I'm handing you 12 psychological habits that make people respect you instantly. Before we start, comment, "I deserve respect." Support this channel so we can continue bringing this knowledge to the men who are silently suffering and searching for the answers that no one's ever given them. Number 1. Be comfortable being hated. Most men live their entire lives chained to the approval of others, terrified of rejection, bending themselves into shapes that please women, co-workers, friends, even strangers they'll never see again. And the tragedy is that by trying to be liked by everyone, they are respected by no one. Because when you are desperate to be liked, you will compromise your values. You will hide your truth. You will say yes when your soul is screaming no. You will agree with things you do not believe in, just to avoid confrontation. And every time you do this, a piece of your self-respect dies inside you. And the world around you can sense it, because people can smell weakness. They can feel when a man doesn't stand on his own 2 feet. And women in particular test it ruthlessly, not out of malice, but because biologically they are wired to seek strength, leadership, certainty. And when they sense you fear disapproval, they push you further. They withdraw desire. They withhold respect. And you, hoping to win them back, double down on your appeasement, offering more of yourself, sacrificing your time, ignoring your boundaries. But instead of winning her heart, you sink deeper into invisibility, because what women want is not a man who pleads for peace, but a man who risks conflict, who risks being disliked, who risks even being hated for staying true to who he is. And this applies outside relationships too, in business, in social circles, in leadership, because respect flows to those who refuse to bend when it matters. And the paradox is that when you stop caring about being liked, you start being respected, because people admire conviction even when they disagree with it. And the man who speaks his truth, who holds his ground, who refuses to be reshaped by pressure, is the man others follow, sometimes grudgingly, sometimes resentfully, but always respectfully. So if you are tired of being walked over, you must accept this fundamental law. Being respected means some will hate you, and that is not only acceptable, it is necessary, because hatred is often the shadow of influence, and the more you fear it, the weaker you become, while the more you accept it, the freer you are. So how do you embody this in your daily life? You start small. You stop explaining every choice. You stop apologizing for boundaries. You stop chasing back those who leave. You hold the line even when it costs you approval, and every time you do, you grow stronger. You feel the weight of fear lift, and slowly you discover that being hated is not death. It is liberation, and the respect you have been chasing all along was never out there. It was inside you, waiting for you to finally stand tall and declare that you would rather walk alone in truth than be embraced in lies. And once you taste that kind of freedom, you will never go back to begging, because the man who is comfortable being hated is the only man truly capable of being respected. And if you're ready to take this even deeper, if you're tired of stumbling blindly through the traps of modern relationships and want a guide that shows you exactly how to stand firm in every test, then you need to grab the Stoic Relationship Blueprint, the ebook I've linked in the comments. Ask yourself this: How many more years do you want to live being second-guessed, disrespected, misunderstood? How much longer do you want to keep repeating the same patterns that keep you stuck? This is the blueprint for living with the strength of a man who commands respect in every area of his life. And once you get it, it's yours forever. You'll always have access to these truths, always have a compass you can return to when life gets loud or confusing, and you'll never again have to wonder what to do when the respect you deserve is on the line. Number 2, only speak when you add value. The reason most men are ignored is not because they have nothing to say, but because they never learned the power of restraint. They vomit words into the air, trying to fill silence, trying to force validation, and every extra word they throw out dilutes their authority until they sound like background noise. And this is why the room turns when the rare man who speaks little finally opens his mouth, because his words carry weight. They were not given cheaply, and respect flows where scarcity lives. But most men are terrified of silence. They interpret it as rejection. They scramble to fill the gaps with jokes, self-deprecation, explanations, stories no one asked for, and they do not realize they are digging their own grave. Because the more you talk, the more you reveal. The more you reveal, the more you can be picked apart. The more you beg for attention, the less it is worth when you finally get it. And this is why women lose interest in men who talk endlessly about themselves, about their plans, about their feelings, because in her subconscious, she reads it as weakness, as neediness, as a lack of composure. Because the strongest men do not over-explain themselves, they do not dump their thoughts recklessly. They are deliberate, economical, sharp, and when they speak, it feels like command. So how do you start living this principle? You retrain yourself to see silence not as a threat, but as a weapon. You stop rushing to answer every question immediately. You pause, you think, you deliver a measured response. You cut out filler words that soften your authority. You learn to be okay with letting people sit in discomfort as you choose whether or not their question even deserves an answer. Because men who are respected are not accessible to everyone at all times, and their words are not available on demand. They speak when it matters. They listen when others cannot bear to, and they let silence speak for them when it's more powerful than sound. So in your daily life, begin practicing this discipline. In conversations, hold back, speak less, weigh your words, deliver them slowly and clearly, and watch how the room leans in, how people start valuing your input more because it comes less often, how women start chasing your opinion because you are not handing it out for free. And understand this: every time you open your mouth, you either add value or you take value away. And the men who are respected are those who add value with every sentence. Those whose words can be trusted, remembered, quoted, because they were not wasted on noise. And when you master this, you will find that respect doesn't come from volume, but from precision, not from quantity, but from quality. And when your words finally cut like a blade, people will realize that your silence was never weakness. It was power. Number 3. Never explain yourself twice. Weak men bleed themselves dry by explaining and re-explaining their choices to people who never respected them in the first place. They repeat themselves endlessly, hoping that with enough justification, enough detail, enough bending of logic, others will finally validate them. But all they do is signal weakness, because every time you explain yourself twice, you teach others that your first answer doesn't matter, that your boundary can be challenged, that your decisions are negotiable. And once people see that, they will never stop pressing. They will keep asking, keep demanding, keep pushing, because you have shown them you can be worn down. And this is why in relationships, so many men feel drained, because instead of stating what they will and will not accept and leaving it there, they enter long emotional debates. They try to rationalize themselves into being respected. But respect doesn't come from explanation. It comes from finality, from conviction, from the man who says once and means it. the man who is unmoved by persuasion, who is willing to lose the relationship before he loses himself. And women test this constantly. They will challenge your boundaries not to hear your essays, but to see if you mean them. And when you fold, when you keep explaining, you confirm what they already suspected. You are unsure. You are seeking permission. You are not the authority of your own life. But when you state it once, firmly, calmly, and refuse to repeat yourself, you send a signal of strength that is undeniable, even if it frustrates her, even if she lashes out, because deep down she respects a man who is anchored. So how do you build this into your life? You start by practicing restraint, by eliminating the compulsion to justify yourself, by catching yourself when you are about to repeat your reasoning and stopping mid-sentence. You allow others to feel the weight of your decision, and you let them deal with their discomfort without softening it, because every time you explain yourself twice, you surrender a piece of your authority, and every time you stand firm without repeating, you reclaim it. So in practice, when you say no, that is the end of the conversation. When you declare a boundary, you don't argue about it, you enforce it. And when someone tries to wear you down, you hold eye contact and calmly remind them, "I've already told you," and then you move on. Because the man who repeats himself loses power, but the man who speaks once and holds his ground is immovable, undeniable, and respected. Number 4. Disagree intelligently. Most men spend their whole lives terrified of saying, "I disagree," because deep down they have been programmed to equate disagreement with conflict, and conflict with rejection, and rejection with abandonment. So they learn to nod, to fake smiles, to nod along to conversations they do not believe in, to say yes when their gut screams no. And while they think they are buying peace, what they are actually doing is selling their self-respect one piece at a time, because people are not blind. They can tell when you fold too easily. They can feel when you lack conviction, and once they sense that, they label you as weak, pliable, someone who can be bent at will. And that label sticks to you like a curse, in relationships, in work, in life, because every time you avoid disagreement, you are teaching the world that you fear truth more than you value it. And here's where it gets even darker. Women lose attraction the fastest when they realize you cannot hold your ground, when they test you with small disagreements, and you fold for the sake of keeping the peace, because to her subconscious that signals you cannot protect, you cannot lead, you cannot stand against resistance. And this is why so many men find themselves disrespected in their own homes, because they confuse agreeing with loving, when in reality agreeing with everything kills love. It suffocates desire. It turns you into a shadow of yourself. And the bitter irony is that the same woman who punishes you for disagreeing will secretly lose respect for you if you don't, because deep down, she craves the man who is unshaken by her moods, the man who calmly but firmly says, "No, I don't see it that way," and leaves it there. Not emotional, not defensive, but clear, strong, unmovable. And this is the exact same dynamic in the world at large, because people respect resistance more than compliance. They admire the man who will risk awkwardness, risk being disliked, just to protect his truth. So the way you apply this in life is simple, but not easy. You start saying it. "I disagree. I don't see it that way. That doesn't work for me." And then you let the silence hang. You don't rush to explain. You don't dress it up in apologies. You just let them feel it. And at first it will shake you. It will feel like confrontation. Your heart will race. But over time you will discover a new strength, a calm rootedness in truth. Because disagreement doesn't make you the villain. It makes you human. And the more you practice it, the more respect you accumulate, until one day you realize that people now pause before crossing you, because they know you are not afraid to stand against the tide. And that is when you finally understand that intelligent disagreement is not conflict, it is leadership. Number 5. Own the room without trying. Walk into any room and watch carefully. You'll see most men immediately shrink. They hunch their shoulders. They walk fast like they're apologizing for existing. They avoid eye contact. They laugh too quickly. They scan the room nervously to see if they're accepted. And all of this tells the world one thing. This man does not belong. He is hoping for permission. He is waiting for validation. And the world responds accordingly by ignoring him, by talking over him, by dismissing him. And yet there is another type of man, rare but unforgettable, who enters the room slowly, deliberately, as if he owns time itself. He doesn't force his presence, he embodies it. He doesn't rush to speak, he surveys quietly. He doesn't scan for approval, he moves like approval is irrelevant. And people feel it instantly. Women feel drawn, men feel cautious. The entire room adjusts itself to him, and the secret is not arrogance or fake bravado. The secret is self-certainty, the deep knowledge that you belong wherever you choose to stand. And this is the paradox. The men who beg for acceptance are rejected, and the men who act as though they need no acceptance are embraced. So how do you begin owning the room without trying? You train yourself to slow down, to control your body, to never rush into spaces. You remind yourself daily that you are not competing for a chair at the table. You are the table, and the moment you walk in, you are granting others the chance to be in your presence. This is not delusion. This is frame. This is leadership energy, and people respond to it instinctively. So in your daily life, the next time you walk into a meeting, a party, a date, force yourself to enter with intention. Don't rush. Let your presence be felt before you say a word. Hold your posture upright. Let your eyes scan the space with calmness, as if you are assessing, not seeking, and speak only when you are ready, not when they demand it. And soon you will see a shift. People will treat you differently because they can feel you treat yourself differently. And remember this, if you act like you don't belong, people will agree with you. If you act like you belong, people will agree with you. So why not choose the energy that commands respect? Because the man who owns the room without trying is always the man who owns himself first. Number 6, never laugh first. Men lose respect every single day, not because of what they say, but because of how they react. And one of the most common betrayals of weakness is the nervous laugh, the desperate chuckle, the habit of laughing first in every interaction as if to say, "Please accept me. I mean no harm. Don't exclude me." But this instinct, while it may feel harmless, screams insecurity. It screams need for approval, and people sense it instantly. Women in particular read it as a sign that you are the jester, the entertainer, the pleaser, not the man they must respect, because respect and desire are never given to the clown. They are reserved for the man who holds his frame, who doesn't rush to validate others with laughter, who doesn't try to earn his place with reactions. And when you laugh first, you are signaling that you are beneath the person who spoke, that you are waiting for their validation, that you are desperate to keep harmony. But the truth is, respect is earned not by trying to keep harmony, but by being willing to disturb it, by being the man who can hear a joke, hear a statement, hear a story, and remain unshaken, a smirk at most, a measured response, but never a desperate laugh. And this is powerful because it means you are unhooked from the approval of others. You are in control of your emotional expression, and people subconsciously read that as strength. So how do you start rewiring this? You begin by noticing your impulse, that automatic jump to laugh before anyone else, and you cut it off. You delay your reaction. You let others laugh first. You train yourself to hold still, to let silence pass. And when you do laugh, let it be because you found it genuinely amusing, not because you felt obligated to, and watch how the energy shifts. Suddenly people look to you before they laugh. Suddenly women notice that you are not performing, that you are not trying to be liked, and their attraction rises. Suddenly men notice that you are not desperate for inclusion, and their respect rises. And this is the deep law. The man who laughs first is seeking acceptance. The man who laughs last already has it. And in your life, every time you resist that urge to be the clown, you take a step closer to being the man everyone else must calibrate themselves to. And respect always belongs to that man. Number 7. Ask hard questions. Silently listen. Most men sabotage their own respect because they cannot shut their mouths. They fill every silence with their opinions, their complaints, their justifications, thinking if they keep talking, people will finally understand them. But in reality, the more they talk, the less anyone listens, because the loudest man is rarely the most respected. The respected man is the one who knows when to speak and when to listen, and not passive listening like nodding mindlessly, but deliberate listening. Listening that puts pressure on the other person. Listening that exposes truth, because asking the right question and then shutting up forces people to reveal who they really are, and most men never do this, especially with women. They answer every question instantly, they chase every point, they over-explain, and in doing so they give away power, while she sits back and reads him like an open book, and then complains later that he is predictable, unchallenging, weak. But the man who asks the difficult questions and then goes silent flips the script. He makes her do the work. He makes her reveal her inconsistencies. He makes her confront herself. And suddenly, she feels his presence as authority because he is not dancing for approval. He is challenging her to rise. And this is not only about relationships. It is in every area of life, because in business, in leadership, in friendships, the man who speaks less and asks more holds the frame. He directs the conversation. He draws out information others would have hidden, and he commands respect, not by dominating the air with his words, but by dominating the silence with his control. So how do you live this principle? You begin by breaking the addiction to instant responses. You retrain yourself to pause, to let others sit in silence, to stop rushing to fill the gap. And you arm yourself with a few powerful questions. Why do you believe that? What does that mean for you? How does that benefit us? And you deliver them without emotion. Then you sit back and let the silence do the heavy lifting, and when people scramble to fill the gap, you will see it in their eyes. They are revealing truths they did not want to reveal. They are chasing your approval. They are bending to your frame, and this shift is life-changing because you go from being the man who is always explaining himself to being the man others are always explaining themselves to, and the difference in respect is night and day. So start today. Ask sharper questions, say less, listen more, and watch how people begin to lean into your silence, because they know the man who listens like that is not a man to be ignored. Number 8. Confront disrespect immediately. Disrespect is poison, and the tragedy is that most men drink it daily without protest. They let people talk over them. They let women mock them. They let friends take advantage of them. They let colleagues dump work on them, all because they don't want to seem difficult, all because they want to avoid confrontation, and then they wonder why no one respects them. But the truth is that every time you allow disrespect to slide, you are teaching people that your boundaries are fake, that your words are empty, that you are a man who can be walked on, and respect is impossible for the man who accepts disrespect, because people only treat you how you allow them to. And women test this mercilessly, sometimes even unconsciously. They throw little jabs, they interrupt, they check to see if you will push back. And most men laugh it off, brush it aside, thinking this keeps the peace. But peace built on tolerated disrespect is not peace. It is quiet contempt, and she feels it. She loses respect for you. She loses attraction for you, because deep down she knows that the man who cannot defend his own name cannot defend her. And so the spiral begins. And this is why you must confront disrespect the instant it happens, not with rage, not with begging, but with calm clarity. with a sharp, unmoving stance that says, "You will not treat me this way," because when you respond in real time, you train people to respect you. You train women to understand your lines. You train friends and co-workers to never cross you. And the difference is night and day. So how do you live this? You stop brushing off the little jabs. You stop laughing at your own expense. You stop staying quiet when someone cuts you off. Instead, you call it out. You say firmly, "Don't talk over me. I wasn't finished," you say. "That comment doesn't sit well with me. Don't repeat it." You look people in the eye and let them feel that line. And once you do this consistently, you will notice a strange thing. People may react in the moment. They may push back. But over time, they will respect you more. They will measure their words around you. They will test you less, because they know you are not the man who tolerates disrespect. And in a world full of men too afraid to confront, the man who stands firm, calmly, unapologetically, becomes the rare man who is respected by all, even those who dislike him. Number 9. Admit when you're wrong. Most men ruin their credibility not by failing but by lying about it, by denying it, by twisting the story, by blaming someone else, all because their ego cannot handle being wrong. But every time you refuse to own your mistake, you bleed respect because people see through it. Women see through it. Friends see through it. Colleagues see through it. And instead of protecting your pride, you bury it. Because respect is not given to the man who pretends perfection. Respect is given to the man who can stand tall in failure, who can say, "I got this wrong, and here is what I am doing to fix it." Because that man is dangerous. He cannot be blackmailed. He cannot be manipulated. He cannot be shamed. And women in particular respect this deeply because it signals strength. It signals growth. It signals that you are not a fragile child who hides when reality strikes. You are a man who faces truth. And this is controversial because most men have been trained to think admitting fault makes them weak. But the opposite is true. It makes you bulletproof because the man who can admit failure without flinching has nothing to fear, nothing to hide, nothing to prove. And this confidence is magnetic. So how do you practice this? You start by stopping the reflex to explain or defend when you're called out. You train yourself to pause and ask, is there truth in this? And if there is, you admit it instantly, and then you take responsibility for the fix. And in relationships, this is powerful because instead of spiraling into endless arguments, trying to prove you were right, you short-circuit the entire drama by owning what is yours and leaving it there. And in business, this is powerful because instead of losing credibility by covering up, you gain trust by admitting quickly, correcting quickly, moving forward. And in life, this is powerful because you free yourself from the exhausting burden of pretending to be flawless. So start today. Pick one area where you know you messed up and stop hiding. Own it to yourself. Own it to others if needed. Correct it. And you will feel a strange new strength, because the man who can admit when he is wrong without shame is the man who will always rise higher, while the man who clings to denial and excuses is destined to be ignored, disrespected, and forgotten. Number 10. Create mystery, not drama. A man who talks about every detail of his life, who broadcasts his plans, his struggles, his victories, his losses, who constantly updates the world on his thoughts and emotions, kills his own aura before it even has the chance to form, because respect thrives on unpredictability. It thrives on scarcity. It thrives on the unknown. And when you reveal too much, when you dump your life story to every woman you meet, or every colleague you work with, you give them the blueprint to manipulate you, to box you in, to use your openness against you. And what's worse is you train people to stop valuing what you share, because it's no longer rare. It's no longer special. It's noise. And this is why drama is poison, because drama is the desperate man's attempt at significance, the endless gossiping, The emotional outbursts, the messy oversharing, the constant need to pull people into his chaos, and while it might get temporary attention, it never builds respect. It only brands him as unstable, unreliable, unworthy of trust. And women especially despise this because it reveals weakness. It shows them a man who cannot control his frame, a man who is enslaved by the need to be seen and validated. And yet respect is born in the opposite, in restraint, in privacy, in mystery, because the man who does not reveal everything forces others to wonder, to lean in, to speculate, to respect the fact that they cannot fully read him, and that unreadability creates power because people cannot prepare for what they cannot predict. And the man who builds quietly, who shares selectively, who only reveals the outcome when it is finished, commands awe without asking for it. So in your life, stop telling people what you're working on before you've done it. Stop oversharing with women hoping it will build closeness. Stop feeding gossip circles your energy, and instead train yourself to keep your plans close, your feelings contained, your life sacred. And when you do share, let it be calculated, let it be rare, let it be on your terms, because the man who builds mystery will always have respect, while the man who builds drama will always bleed it. Number 11. Win without needing credit. Respect gravitates toward the man who moves in silence, who builds victories in the shadows without begging for applause, without fishing for validation, because needing credit exposes fragility. It shows you are working for recognition instead of results. It makes you a slave to approval, and the world despises the man who cannot function without claps and praise, while admiring the man who doesn't care whether they notice or not, because that man is untouchable. And this is where so many men sabotage themselves. They do good deeds but ruin them by announcing them. They achieve something but dilute it by demanding recognition. They want women, family, friends, or society to pat them on the back. But this craving reveals weakness. It reveals that their worth is external. And once others see this, they control you because they know you need their approval. But the man who wins without credit breaks this chain. He works for his own standard. He lives by his own measure. He doesn't need anyone to clap. He claps for himself. And because of this, he is feared and respected. Feared because no one can manipulate him with validation. Respected because his results speak for him louder than his words ever could. So how do you build this into your life? You stop telling people about your plans before they are done. You stop announcing your wins for validation. You stop fishing for compliments when you achieve something. You learn to internalize victory and let the external speak for itself. And this applies in relationships too, because women often test men by withholding recognition, by downplaying achievements. And if you crumble under that, if you demand acknowledgement, you show weakness. But if you stay unshaken, if you continue working without need for her applause, you show strength and she feels it. And in life this extends further, because the man who doesn't need credit is the man who is always 10 steps ahead. He is not slowed down by proving anything. He is building empires in silence. And by the time people notice it is too late, he has already won. So train yourself to stop chasing credit. Train yourself to stop needing to be seen. Focus only on the win itself, because the man who wins without credit is the man who cannot be controlled, and that is the man the world respects the most. Number 12. Carry yourself like you're already respected. Everything changes the day you realize that respect is not something you wait for. It is something you embody, because people treat you exactly as you present yourself. And if you walk through life doubting yourself, apologizing for existing, acting like you are undeserving, they will mirror it back to you. They will dismiss you, ignore you, and walk over you. But if you carry yourself like you are already respected, if you walk with calm authority, if you speak like your words have weight, if you hold your posture as if every step matters, people will sense it and respond accordingly. And this is not arrogance. It is not pretending. It is self-certainty, The kind of energy that tells the world, I know who I am, I don't need you to confirm it. And ironically, the world rushes to confirm it once they feel it, because humans are wired to follow confidence, to respect certainty, to align with those who do not question themselves. And in relationships, this is powerful, because women will treat you as you treat yourself. If you project doubt, she will doubt you. If you project respect, she will respect you. And the same applies in your career, in your friendships, in every area of life. So how do you start living this? You begin by deciding who you want to be. You write down the qualities of the man you would respect, and then you embody them before anyone else sees it. You practice walking slower, speaking with intention, looking people in the eye without flinching, refusing to beg for acknowledgement. And over time, it stops being an act and becomes who you are. And the transformation is shocking because the very same people who ignored you before will now defer to you, will now treat you differently, not because they changed, but because you did. And this is the ultimate truth. The world doesn't decide your value, you do. And once you carry yourself like you're already respected, the world has no choice but to fall in line, because respect, like power, is never requested. It is taken by the man who believes he already owns it. If you've made it this far, you already know the truth. The world will keep disrespecting you until you decide you've had enough. No one is coming to save you, not society, not women, not friends. The only man who can change your life is staring back at you in the mirror. That's why I put together the Stoic Relationship Blueprint, the ebook every man needs if he's tired of being tested, disrespected, and forgotten. It's linked in the comments right now, and once you get it, it's yours for life. A weapon you'll carry forever, a blueprint that will save you years of wasted time and regret. Comment, "No more regrets." If you're ready to claim it, hit like and subscribe so more men can wake up to these truths.